Well, welcome back to Debate Night on this August 12, 2011, and we're excited about this continuing topic tonight, which we are debating between Moustafa Zayed and Robert Spencer, our Muslim and non-Muslim apologist. Again, the topic is Islam guarantees women equality of rights with men. The debate continues. Just a reminder to clarify, we will be taking our calls at the last break, but think about the opportunity to speak tonight. Again, the number is 248-416-1300. We won't be taking those calls until we get to our last break, which is roughly a half hour from now. Speaking of time, we're going to go ahead and start that clock at 5 minutes. Moustafa, you have rebuttal number 2, and you can start right now.
All right. I just hope for the people who would see this online recorded to go back to the only translation that Mr. Spencer picked for the word qawamun. He chose superior to, which what I told him it does not mean. And Arabic, believe it or not, is my native language. He said, well, other people said it too. Look, Yusuf Ali said protector and provider. I ask any second grader, does protector mean superior to? Does provider mean superior to? And then he went on another translation, in charge of. If I am in charge of a diamond, that means it's mine, that I'm superior to it. I'm in charge of 100 children, then my life is better than them, or I'm superior to them. It's, again, the twisted translation, and the only one that he picks. In J. Dawood, I never heard of his translation. Couldn't care less if it's native Arabic or not. Attend means to be a protector, to be in charge of. There has to be a leader for the family. By default, that leader is chosen by Allah to be the man, like any other culture, predominantly, and only when he qualifies. That's number one. The second thing, when he goes to the witnessing, he chooses, again, the exception. In financial transactions, you know, if you don't have one man, bring 2 women, because women by nature go to Wall Street and tell me how many women as a percentage of all the working men. But he would totally forego all the other cases where a testimony of a woman is exactly the same as a man. In all kind of cases of Islamic law, except her witnessing a crime of zina or armed robbery where there's going to be a penal code. I mean, he should be ashamed when he says that if she was the rape victim, her word would not be taken. How could it be a case that is to be prosecuted if the victim did not even complain to begin with? And that's her testimony. Totally wrong. When she is an outside witness to the event of the hurt that happened, then Islam avoids and protects the woman nature from getting into violent crimes. Testimony is a husband against her wife when it comes to infidelity. In Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, 6-9, her testimony is exactly the same. In the case of Sayyidah Aisha, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ pushed her. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a powerful man, and he was not beating her whatsoever. He never beat anyone, not even his servants. And I will post the same hadith that he's talking about. When I quote him mixing 2 hadith together, when they asked him why are some women are majority of hellfire, and he brought an answer from a totally different hadith, I didn't say that one of them is not authentic. I said that you mixed 2 authentic hadith together. Out of ignorance or not, even if you knew, I would not trust that you would tell the truth. The third thing, we're not talking about disobedience when we're talking about the beating of a wife. It's a wife who committed a crime. At that remote, very exceptional situation, should we hand her to the law, or should be dealt with a slap on the wrist within the household? And I'm not justifying that for disobedient wives, for a wife who committed an apparent crime as per the hadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Apparent abomination. The other thing is the refusal of having intercourse. The hadith is apparent and clear, and you don't need to be a genius to look at interpretation or foundation of Islamic law. The hadith said that the angels would be cursing her till the morning comes. It did not say that the husband should force her into sex. That is a despicable, that is something that is resentful in Islam, that a law-abiding, a chastised man want to have his normal intercourse with his wife, and his wife would refuse for no reason. Mr. Spencer, as usual, would slip you in that for any reason, for anything. What if she has her period? Totally forbidden to come near the wife. What if she's ill? What if she's sick? But Mr. Spencer will tell you for any reason, he is, you know, in Spencer land, he's creating his own law and he's making new things. Again, look at the translation that he used and look at what he's talking about. And again, in witnessing, he does not want to, you know, say that he totally mutilated a verse in the Quran from the case of financial witnessing to a case of rape victims. And when I caught him, he said, oh, look at Surah An-Nur. It says, they have to be men. And I brought him, and I'll post it again, that it means shuhud, means witnesses. It didn't specify men or didn't specify women. So again, take the extreme case, generalize it, incite hatred against Muslims, anything Muslims, confuse hadith together, a word that means white translated as black, and tell me names of people that nobody had ever heard of. The only people that are reputable translators, even though I say that they have some mistakes in translation by nature, Yusuf Ali said protector, did not say superior. The other Shakir said in charge of, he did not say superior. Who's saying superior? Mr. Spencer, because the job is to incite hatred and demonize all Muslims with the simple-minded people who cannot read for themselves and cannot even understand English. Superior does not mean protector. A woman who's looking for a major abomination or the crime of an apparent abomination is not a disobedient wife. That's someone who committed a crime, and that's the best punishment that he give her, a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
Again, typical Spencer.
Thank you, Moustafa. That was the last part of the second rebuttal there. Now we have one more 5-minute portion of time here for Robert Spencer for your second rebuttal. Robert, the clock is set. You may start right now.
The elaborateness and sophistication and persistence of the Imam Moustafa's deceptions is truly breathtaking. And as a liar, I think he is really unsurpassed today. Really, it's extraordinary what he's doing here, the sleight of hand in regard to this passage in chapter 4, verse 34 of the Quran. He's arguing about the word that is translated by Ali as men are the protectors and maintainers of women, the word being the protectors and maintainers part, or by Pickthall as men are in charge of women, or by Dawood as men have authority over women. But that part is not in dispute. The part that he is taking issue with is in Dawood's translation as God has made the one superior to the other, which is the next part of the verse. So he's actually getting all upset about the Arabic word that I'm not disputing the meaning of, because that is not the problem. Ali says men are the protectors and maintainers of women. That part is not in dispute. And then he goes on to say, because Allah has given the one more than the other. But he doesn't want you to notice that part because it shows the inequality of the women. Or as Pickthall, another Muslim, has it, men are in charge of women because Allah has made the one of them to excel the other. He doesn't tell you all about the Arabic word for in charge, the gun given the one more than the other, or excel the other, or superior to the other in the Dawood translation, because that, of course, would not serve his argument. And instead, he's trying to fool the listener into thinking that the argument is really about the part that is translated as men are the protectors and the sustainers of women or have authority over women, which is not the issue at all. It's the same thing with zina. It's a matter of established fact in Islamic law that women's testimony is not allowed in crimes of zina. And as far as the mixing the two hadiths together, you notice that he said, he's very excited and speaking quickly, but go back and listen to it again, and you will hear that he says, he's not saying one's authentic and one's inauthentic. So see, I'm speaking from memory here, and I am speaking about hadiths which I will produce on the website Jihad Watch tomorrow, or tonight, if I get a chance. And the reality is that there are hadiths that are considered authentic by Muslims, in which Muhammad says that most of the people in hell are women, and in which Muhammad says that women are deficient in religion and in intellect. And he doesn't even dispute the authenticity of those. Instead, he's trying to make a big deal out of my putting them together in a conversational presentation. Well, that's ridiculous. One hadith, two hadiths, fine. The question is it part of Islamic doctrine that Muhammad said these things? Yes, these hadiths are considered authentic. And so the question is, do Muslims believe that they're mostly women in hell? If they believe Muhammad, yes. Do Muslims believe that women are deficient in religion and in intellect? If they believe Muhammad, yes. Do Muslims believe that they have a right to beat their wives, and not just as a symbolic tap on the wrist, as he ridiculously claims? Well, let me just note that the Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences, which is not, as far as I know, an enterprise that I am in charge of, or that I have created, and probably is predominantly made up of Muslims, they have determined that over 90% of women in Pakistan, over 90%, have been struck, beaten, or sexually abused, often for trivial offenses. The problem is one man's tap and slap on the wrist is another man's brutal beating. These things can all too often be in the eye of the beholder. Once you've given the sanction to the behavior, that's where the trouble begins. And Islam does sanction wife beating, and Muslims beat their wives. The Imam Muhammad Kamal Moustafa, an imam in Spain in 2004, was found guilty by a Spanish court of inciting violence on the basis of gender because in his book, Women in Islam, he discussed the methods of administering physical punishment of women. And so this was something that was clear, was real, was taken very seriously. And so this is a problem all around the Islamic world. He can pretend and deceive foolish and ignorant people into thinking that it's something that I'm making up. But that is just another part of the sophistication of his deception. This man is a very good liar. But the texts say what they say. And all the Islamic translations of the Quran, they say in the beginning part of chapter 4, verse 34, that in some way that men are superior to or excel or are greater than or have more than women. And they say that a man should beat his disobedient wife. And Muhammad did that to Aisha, which you'll notice he did not address at all, and caused her pain. And he, being the exemplary pattern of conduct, as per chapter 33, verse 21 of the Quran, that is a very dangerous passage in the Hadith.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Robert. Okay, now we're going to go into a little section of what we call crossfire. Each of you will have 3 minutes, and we've reset the clock, because at this point, Moustafa, you've got 3 minutes, and you may begin right now.
All right. Please, whoever is going to watch this recorded after that, please watch from the beginning and watch Robert Spencer retrace what he says quickly. First of all, it was that the victim of rape cannot testify for herself, and now he's saying, oh, women cannot testify in that case, which is the second part is the correct part. But in the beginning, he was not saying that till I exposed him. The second thing, the part that he says, oh, that's the part that means superior. It says, bima faddala Allahu ba'duhum ala ba'd. By what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preferred some over the other. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the verse did not specify men or women who's better than each one. As I said, they complement each other. It could be the woman that has a better aspect than the man, or the man has a better aspect. If bima faddala Allahu ba'dhum ala ba'd, by what Allah preferred some of the other, can you extract from me which is man and which is woman? I'll give you the Nobel Peace Prize, but I'm not going to give it to you. The second thing, Robert Spencer totally ignores, and he'll never tell you that, and you should ask yourself, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلَ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. They have the same rights and obligations as men do, women do. In Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, number 28. The other one, he keeps saying that you beat a disobedient wife. I explained so many times that the verb in the 2 verses is nushuz, which is committing an abomination or about to commit abomination. And I brought the explanation of the Prophet of Islam himself, saying you never beat the woman, you treat him righteously and equitably, unless they commit an apparent crime. They become a criminal, and then there has to be a punishment, and then there's degrees. It's not beating right away. You give them advice, you abstain from them in bed, and then after that you go and you give them a slap on the wrist, which is the lightest punishment after they commit a crime. So he makes the crime or the criminal the major case. Again, watches how he retracts. He said that Muhammad, when the woman asked him why a majority of women in hellfire are going to be that way, and he said the answer is that they're deficient in mind and so on and so forth. The answer is a totally different hadith, and it's a totally different thing. In the second hadith, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was praising women. He said, I never seen more people that have their emotions supersedes their reason, that they can take away the mind of a firm and an intellectual man. It's a praise. And the lack of ritual duties is by the license of God. When they're pregnant, when they have their period, and subhanAllah, when they get pregnant, that's how I came to life, and so does Mr. Spencer. That's a license from God. That is not something to be ashamed or make him a list of worshippers. In all aspects of Islam, they're the same. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, your best are your best to their women, and I am the best to my women. He used to clean his house. He used to do house chores. When his wife was sick, he used to do house chores for her. He would get grocery for her. He would milk his sheep. He would do everything for his wife. And he